All right, so I'd like to start by just kind of giving you a brief introduction to myself. Um, before we kind of get into today's webinar, again, my name is Joe Levija. I'm a senior MEP technical specialist here with ATG USA, um, where what I tend to do on a daily basis is I'll do project work, I'll do some consulting, I'll do some training on Revit, some other Autodesk programs, as well as the MEPPP and some of the CTC tools. I've been in the industry now since 2015 after graduating with an associate's degree in drafting and design technologies. Um, my work experience that I have is both on the MEP design side of the world as well as on the contracting side doing VDC with some minor structural experience. And then I do have a little bit of additional experience when I was in school learning Revit from an architectural standpoint as well. So got kind of a vast variety of knowledge here that I'm working with. So let's now take a look at what we're going through today. So today's webinar is going to be on using the electrical one-line diagram. That is a MEP productivity pack product provided by CTC. So within the description today, what our goal here is in the webinar, I'll be creating kind of a one-line diagram using the tools from the MEPPP or MEP Productivity Pack. And then I'll show you how to kind of put that together and make it functional for multiple electrical subdisciplines. We'll discuss a lot of those options as we go along. And then today's learning objectives that we're going to dive into will be set up a one-line design option. We will also try to create views for that one-line diagram, and then we will discuss and apply view template for the one-line diagram. So all this information, as we kind of roll through, you will see will be in the MEP Productivity Pack Starter Project. And that's what we're going to pull from in order to be able to kind of do that dive and also set up some of these, set up this one line and utilize this one line to its full power. Okay, so, and again, as we go through, if you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free, throw them in the Q&A, and we'll definitely take a look at that. So with that brief introduction there, I'm going to swap over and we're going to dive into Revit. Okay, so this is our Revit starter project here. Something within the MEP Productivity Pack that we have set up here is when you come in, there's already kind of a pre-set up template out here. So that starter project is already set up here for you. It's already got views, it's got browser organization, it's got all your standards, and it comes with this little startup view as well. So that's what I came into at this point. Now let's just kind of go through a brief discussion of what it takes in order to start that one-line diagram, okay? So if you guys can all see here, I've got a whole slew of different views and everything along those lines up here. So some things we're going to look at today are going to be the design options. So design options. We're also going to dive into our view templates as well. So we will be taking a look at our electrical one-line diagram view template, which is floating around in here. It's going to be right here. So we will take a look at the electrical one-line view template. We're also going to take a look at the view specifically as well um, in the one lines. And then on top of that, we'll go through some tags. We'll look at the conduit because we don't utilize just line work in here. We actually are utilizing conduit for specific functionality. And then on top of that, we're going to take a look at the feeder schedule. Okay, so those are some key points that we're going to dive through today, and working with the electrical one lines. And just for reference materials, we do have our reference guide out here. So I will show you this. In our reference guide here, this is where in the MEP productivity user manual, it's going to be everything we're working with will be under chapter 4, creating partially intelligent riser and wire diagrams. So this is where you will find some of the information in order to properly see how we're doing some of what we're doing, as well as just giving you a brief reference point in order to answer those questions as you guys are playing around with this. Okay. We also have a YouTube video out there. In fact, I believe there are a couple YouTube videos out there on creating the one-line diagrams as well. So if you have any questions, further questions, and you're unable to get in touch with us right away, there are also YouTube videos that could definitely help you guys out and walk you through the whole process as well. Okay, and that's from ATG and CTC. Okay, so let's start taking a dive here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at right now is we're going to look at the design options. So down here at the bottom, this is where we kind of set up our design options. Okay, design options as well can be created by going into the Manage tab here under Design Options. Once you get into the Manage tab, this is where you can create some of those additional options. So you can create an option set and create a new option. So here, right here, we've got our option set created with our design option dedicated towards one line. Simply select New, and you can create that new option. So created a new set. So but those are ways of just kind of getting this on there. I do understand a lot of people struggle with design options. Design options can be tricky, especially if you're new to working with them, and if you're new to working with view templates as well, or you're just a basic user of it and you don't necessarily go through a lot of time setting it up. Design options can be tricky at first, but once you get into them, there's a lot of power that design options can benefit when working in Revit. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm gonna go into the specific location where we have our view. All right, so our current view, and this will be set up in the MEP Starter project, is going to be under the construction documents category here. Keep in mind, this is under the project browser organization, discipline-all. Also, it can be under discipline-electric or electrical, okay, which are standard browsing organization setups within the MEP Productivity Pack Starter project, okay? So when I'm looking at this, I'm going to come to the construction documents category. I'm going to scroll down to elevations. Notice I said elevations. We're not doing this in drafting view. We're not doing this in a legend. We're not doing this in a floor plan or ceiling plan. This is done actually in elevations. Okay. Then we're going to look at our one line category here, and then we're going to select our one line diagram. So here is our one line diagram that we have out here. This is our view. Within this view, you can see that we have some of our levels here, and then we've got a bunch of different tags that are currently out here. But I can show you how to bring those tags in here as well, to give you that option to kind of play around with this and make it your own and create what you need to create out of it. So this is kind of the start of, and setup of how we get to this point with our view. And within the options that we have here with the one line diagram that was created by CTC, we can do a one line type of diagram, or we can also do what some of you guys also refer to as more of a riser diagram. So there are plenty of different systems and everything along those lines, especially nowadays with more and more information needing to be addressed and conveyed and sent over to the field. So this is just one of our options, and this is an option here to help and try and cut down on some of that work time in order to put some of these diagrams together. I've got a large history of putting together risers and one lines dedicated towards the system side of the world. So whether it's IT, whether it's security, even assisting with signal flow diagrams in the AV world, those are very, very time consuming and require a lot of additional information. And we tend to either draw them up in the AutoCAD world, or as of late, say about the last 2 years or so, I've been drawing a lot of those up in the Revit world in a drafting view. Those have been some of the big options there. But now with having tags in place, having Conduit in place, having logic out here, we now have an alternative to hopefully speed that process up. Okay, so let me start by just kind of giving you a brief view of what it takes in order to create this view itself. So if you guys don't know, we utilize work sets, we utilize filters, and we utilize view templates for just about everything we can in the MEPPP. So all that stuff is already pre-created for you, and you guys can kind of hit the ground running once you start with the MEP productivity pack. Now the view template that we have out here that I'm clicking into right now, it's the E one line section view template, and you will see it's got everything kind of partially set up here. So it's going to give you your size 1/2 inch to 1 foot. It's also going to give you some of that organizational piece, the view classification that explains construction docs, and then sub-discipline of one line, and then within here, family type, basically being elevations. So some of that basic information is already out here. When we dive into our information, going to look at our model categories, you're going to see a lot of this extra stuff is turned off, except for the specific items that we're looking for. So conduit, fittings, and conduit, and we've already got those showing up in a different color just to help convey something a little bit different rather than standard black and white. And then we've got electrical equipment listed here. Okay, and the electrical equipment, 100% transparent, tends to be showing up white. Okay, because white background or white items per se in Revit don't necessarily print out, so we can set it up under white and not necessarily have to worry about seeing a bunch of equipment in our view when we go to do a plot. Okay, so those are some of the benefits there. There's also some space information and stuff like that out here, but mainly everything that we need is already conveyed. So we got our tags on and our equipment. Those are our important pieces. Okay, so let's see here. So I do have a question out here, and the question that I'm showing is, does it seem to work if you have a different colored background? So I've actually played with that in the past. So my standard background, let's see if Revit does this, helps us out here. My standard background in Revit darkens me up a little bit. And you notice when I darken my background, I can start to actually see the equipment, which for me helps me kind of give just a little bit of an idea behind it. Um, with a um, with a dark background here, you see how the equipment shows up all black. Well, in your view template, when you still scroll down here, it still shows up white. And when you plot your view after you drop it on a sheet, that view in itself is going to plot with a white background, and all this equipment will still plot um, under that white category, kind of like in AutoCAD with your layer 0 and stuff like that, where you've got it set to where you're going to put everything on there that you don't want to see when you plot. So same situation, same scenario. Okay, so now that we've kind of gone through some of that information here, if we wanted to create a whole new diagram, we could definitely, let's create a new view here. So we're going to just duplicate the view. Of course, it works like that. So what I'm going to do, notice if I go and I try to select any of this conduit that's floating out here in my new one-line diagram, I can't do anything. So before we go further, we have to adjust our one-line diagram. So here's our one line. Okay, and then make sure to, if you're working in a work set, you're in the correct work set. So I'm going to change this to the ePower work set. Okay, and now I have full access to my one-line diagram conduit. So which I can save, or I can delete it. All right, so I'm going to delete at this point here, and to kind of kick this off, the way that we've set this up, we've got all these pieces of equipment here in the background. Well, I'm going to go to the annotate category, and then tag all. We'll come down here to electrical equipment, and keep in mind we've got a bunch of different options here for electrical equipment tags. All right. So, and in this case, what I can do is I can send a tag that I would prefer in order to tag all. So I'm going to start out with just tagging all under the panel mate. So, and then I can, from there, we've got options for tags. So for instance, if we wanted the panel, or in this case, this is going to be a generator. I'm going to do the left side generator tag here. For my transformer utilities, we've got additional tags out here for specific items. So there's left side, there's right side, whether it's a panel or transformer. I'll set this up to where we're going to create this as a panel utility tag. So this is kind of how the tags are set up. And then we'll add an additional item out here for panel, and then a little panel right side. So now keep in mind here, so I've got the utility transformer tag here, and I've got my information, my um, showing up on the right side. If I swap to the left side tag, it just swaps that information. Okay. Now, the way I want to connect this information is I'm going to utilize Conduit. All right. So what we will have to do is we'll have to go back to that Systems tab. We will have to go to Conduit, and then we do our pull down here to Conduit without fittings, one line. So this is all the different options here for Conduit. We have Conduit here dedicated and set up to account for our one-line diagrams. And like we were talking before, the specific option there on doing that is in order to provide logic from one piece of equipment to the next, just so that way we can tag that equipment and not necessarily have to fight that battle of every time something changes in the model, we have to go through the process of updating our 2D drawing per se on the back end. So in this case, I've got my one-line conduit, and I'll just kind of give you guys a brief view of what's in here. So we do have some bends, some T's in here, and then this is kind of the standard setup of this conduit. So when I go in here now, I can draw from one piece of equipment to the next. And then from that point, if I wanted to add additional conduit from here, I have that ability as well. That's giving me an option drawing down. No auto found. Okay. So I can draw from one piece of equipment to the next and essentially start to create my riser. From that being said, now I can come in here and I can now create my conduit style key, which is going to basically be some of my logical information. I can tag, and let me remove that, tag my pieces of conduit to show my information here. Okay, so now when you come in here and you select your other pieces of conduit, you can now add some of the different options that you have out here. So say you wanted to update to 20 amp or something along those lines. You can do all that. And then what we also have generated as well is we have a feeder schedule out here. So all of the conduit, and let me, okay, so now the conduit here, I'm going to close this one off. Yeah, I'll close this one off. It'll show up in the feeder schedule. So we have those options out here as well. So, and then the feeder schedule that we have, the feeder schedule is actually another piece that's included in the Revit MEP productivity starter project that you guys receive with the MEP productivity pack. So now you guys can actually see some of your information out here as you start to place that, as you start to place those tags and then start to place some of that conduit. So it gives you some of that information. So your nominal conductor ampacity and some of the information here regarding conduit connectors and stuff like that. So those are definitely some of the options that we have out here. And it's just basically as simple as going right on through and being able to update your information as you go along, and then it automatically applies right to another schedule. And you see how, as I update, this is kind of how it ends up working. So, and you guys can kind of go through and see all the different tags that are out here. So these are some of the different tags, and this is, per se, the start is how I will refer to this as. This is the start of how we put this together. This is more designed for electrical power. You can also build this up into some of those system options and everything along those lines. So when you start to build the systems, tags and everything along those lines, you can now create your riser diagram from electrical closet to electrical closet, or telecom room to telecom room, or server rooms, and so on and so forth. And this is another option, another tool out there per se to help assist and move into more of that logical world that we're seeing Revit go into these days. So with some of this information that I have here, does anybody have any questions? There's plenty of different panel pieces of information out here. So existing. So this is basically, it's a fairly simple tool that we have. And again, there are additional videos out here. There's some reference information here within the user manual. I can go back to the user manual as well and show you guys some of that information. So here's just some of the information here that kind of talks about how to set this stuff up. Just give you a little piece of this so you can see generator. We've got the different, kind of like a jump onto the main line here, going to the switchboard and so on and so forth. And this is just some of the basic information that is out here to kind of help you guys set this up. All right, so okay, and just to kind of recap a little bit of what we went over today. Let's see here. Okay. So I have a question out here. How do panels you have in the one line relate to the panels in your power plan? So the panels in the one line, and that's the benefit of this. The panels in the one line relate to the panels within your power plan, because all these panels that you guys see here, these are all live in the model. So everything that that is out here, and I will flip back over into Revit, everything that you guys are seeing here is already in the model. So you guys have already done the work and modeled everything already at this point. And once you've modeled everything, at that point, all this information that's coming here, so this tag, this generator tag, this transformer tag, panel tag, everything along those lines. The information it's pulling off of is the information that you did put in the model. So that way you know what you guys have in here. So if you're in the model and say you need to change this from a 100 amp panel to say a 250 amp panel or something along those lines, or change this from a 3-phase to a 2-phase or so on, that automatically changes right here in your diagram. So you don't have to worry about coming back and making sure that you got all those updated red lines and everything along those lines because you changed the panel type or you changed some of the information on it. It's already set, it's already done. So it automatically changes for everything in here because it's pulling live information. Any other questions? Okay, so let's just kind of recap a little bit. So today, what we went through with utilizing the electrical one-line diagrams in the MEPPP, we kind of went through setting up a one-line design option, find the option in the model, apply that option. Pretty quick, pretty simple. We also kind of went through just creating that view. Basically, you're creating a view, but make sure when you create that view, again, we want to do that in an elevation view. That's how we have it set up. That's how we have our view templates out there. You create that in an elevation view. And then we also wanted to discuss an applied view template for the one line. So if you guys, I know most of you guys on here probably have worked with view templates. It's pretty simple. That button that I click to pull up the view template, that's how you apply the view template. You just go in there, you select the one you need, and it works. And it applies right to that view. So, and then, yeah, we see in here that you can utilize this setup as a one line or a diagram or like a riser diagram in general. Okay, so I'm not really seeing any questions or any comments out here. I'd like to thank everybody for your time today. If you guys have any questions on this or the MEPPP in general, or even any of our CTC tools that we have out here, such as Hive, the BIM Project Suite, the BIM Manager Suite, or the BIM Batch Suite, feel free to give us a call. Also, we're even we can discuss BIM 360 and all kinds of other options out here with you guys as well. So we do trainings around them, we do demos around them. We do quite a bit of information. So feel free, give us a call or throw us an email, and we'll be glad to help you guys out in whatever way we possibly can. Thank you, everybody.